Ser Criston Cole leads a battered column of green soldiers through a dense, suffocating forest. Mud clings to their boots as exhaustion weighs down every step. As they advance through the trees, they stumble directly into a grim scene, a clearing littered with the rotting corpses of fallen soldiers. Criston halts the column, signaling his men to move forward with caution to inspect the bodies. It is a trap. Before the green host can react, men hiding among the dead spring to their feet, weapons drawn. A fierce skirmish erupts in an instant as Team Black strikes from the shadows. Criston draws his blade, fighting with cold, mechanical skill. He slashes through attackers, parries incoming strikes, and desperately tries to push through the bloody chaos. The initial attack is only a distraction. Within moments, the main force of Team Black emerges from the treeline. Led by Lord Roderick Dustin and Lord Oscar Tully, a massive line of soldiers completely encircles Criston and his remaining troops, sealing off every path of escape. Realizing there is no way out, Criston steps forward into the open. He demands to settle the conflict through single combat against the Black commanders, seeking a glorious, honorable death in battle. Team Black refuses to grant him a hero's end. Before Criston can even finish his challenge, Black Ally draws her bow and looses 3 swift arrows in rapid succession. The shafts strike true, piercing his armor and throat, bringing Ser Criston Cole down instantly onto the cold stone. Meanwhile, inside the Great Hall of King's Landing, Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen holds a tense small council meeting alongside Daemon Targaryen, Mysaria, and her closest advisors. Daemon opens the council with a grim report, explaining that one of his officers, Ser Luther, along with 14 of his finest men, a total of 25 city watchguards, have been slain in the name of King Daeron. He warns that Lord Ormond Hightower is actively mocking their authority inside the capital. Rhaenyra turns to her council, stating that Ormond intends to prove to the entire realm that she cannot even govern her own seat. She notes that the great houses are watching as he humiliates her government, demanding to know the location of her army. Daemon answers plainly, stating that Criston Cole has delayed their march. The Black Master confirms the military delay, adding that their vanguard is still a full fortnight's march away from Tumbleton. Daemon insists that the insult must be met immediately, arguing that they should do what should have been done from the start: burn the traitors out with dragonfire. Mysaria immediately objects, warning that burning the city gives Ormond exactly what he wants, as a queen who murders her own loyal subjects can never be trusted. Daemon pushes back, pointing out that they know precisely where the traitor has entrenched himself. He proposes flying directly to the stronghold on Dragonback. An older council member interrupts with dry sarcasm, noting that a dragon is a beast well known for its delicate precision in battle. Another counselor joins in, sarcastically marveling at how the dragonfire Vhagar could magically discern the innocent from the guilty. Daemon snaps back at the table, declaring he will hear no more advice from men whose greatest battle has been with their own indigestion. A third counselor attempts to restore order, agreeing with the rest of the board. He suggests that since the royal army is approaching, Rhaenyra should answer the outrage with force, but wait a little longer so they can act selectively. Daemon counters by reminding Rhaenyra of the ancient prophecy she continuously cites, arguing that whatever is done in service of that destiny is justified. He reminds her that Aegon the Conqueror burned thousands of enemy soldiers at the Field of Fire. Rhaenyra quickly points out that the Conqueror burned enemy soldiers in the field, not subjects who had already bent the knee. Daemon dismisses the distinction, claiming that while their lord bent the knee, the common people would just as happily follow a mule if given the choice. Rhaenyra lowers her voice, stating that her late father, King Viserys, would abhor such violence. Daemon chuckles softly, remarking that they have finally reached the core of her hesitation. Rhaenyra stands firm, declaring that her patience has its limits. She decides she will send covert assassins instead. Daemon accepts the decision, noting that at least he will get to look the leader in the eyes before the man dies. He turns to leave the council chamber. Rhaenyra calls after him, reminding him that the most effective assassin carries a plain face. She points out that religious fanatics still prowl the streets outside the castle gates and that ending Ormond's influence is his primary charge. A council member chimes in, informing the room that a detachment of Valyrian soldiers remains stationed in the city, ready to assist Prince Daemon in his mission. As Daemon walks toward the exit, he dismisses the offer, stating he has no use for them and exits the room. Rhaenyra turns back to the table, asking how many Valyrian men remain in King's Landing. A counselor confirms there are roughly 60 men stationed in the capital. Rhaenyra orders him to petition Lord Corlys Velaryon for additional troops, emphasizing that they will be needed to secure the rest of the city. The master then asks who will be dispatched to Tumbleton, stressing that it is a dangerous errand that requires significant force. Before Rhaenyra can answer, a messenger enters the chamber, announcing that the diplomatic delegation from House Baratheon has arrived. Rhaenyra leaves the small council table and walks down to receive the envoy. A Baratheon representative steps forward, bowing slightly as he announces that he has been sent to represent House Baratheon in response to her royal summons. Rhaenyra looks past him and demands to know the location of Lord Boros Baratheon. The envoy begs for her patience, explaining that Lord Boros has taken his army south into the Red Mountains to hunt down the Vulture King, who has been raiding the Stormlands for months. Rhaenyra grows cold, questioning why Lord Boros suddenly decided to march south the moment his queen summoned him north. The envoy insists that it is Lord Boros' solemn duty to protect his lands from the Dornish threat. Rhaenyra cuts him off, reminding him that it was also his duty to protect her son, Lucerys, when he arrived as an envoy under his roof. The envoy tries to defuse her anger, stating that once the Vulture King is subdued, Lord Boros will address the crown's requests. Rhaenyra steps closer, warning the envoy that Lord Boros is making a grave mistake by assuming a common bandit poses a greater threat than her dragons. She notes that she could easily brand Boros a traitor and execute the envoy in his place. The envoy lowers his head, assuring her that no disrespect was intended toward her reign, adding that compliance is merely a matter of time. Rhaenyra repeats the word back to him with disdain. The envoy stammers, stating that if there were anything else he could offer her at this exact moment, he would lay it before her willingly. Rhaenyra looks down at his waist and demands he hand over his leather belt. Meanwhile, near the dragon pits on the outskirts of the city, the dragon riders Hugh Hammer and Ulf the White stand in the grass beside their resting beasts. Hugh opens the conversation, asking if there is any fresh news from the market. Ulf looks out over the horizon, recalling how the city markets used to operate in King's Landing. He speaks fondly of the screaming chickens, the shouting merchants, and the smell of fresh food, mentioning how everyone assumed those days would last forever. Hugh offers a quiet hope, suggesting that perhaps life will return to normal once the war concludes. Ulf shakes his head, stating that neither of them are the same people anymore. He points out that back then they were commoners, not soldiers or puppets forced to serve the queen. He complains about sleeping alone on a cold hill, noting that Rhaenyra will not even allow him to visit a local tavern for a drink. He questions the point of riding a massive dragon if there is no one around to admire it. Hugh asks Ulf if he truly wishes to return to his old life, starving and living in the dirt. Ulf admits he does not, but insists he cannot claim his current life is any better than before. He asks Hugh if he feels any different. After a long pause, Hugh chooses not to dwell on the thought, telling Ulf he will see him again in 2 days. Ulf quietly nods in agreement as they part ways. Back inside the Red Keep, Queen Rhaenyra opens the doors to Dowager Queen Alicent Hightower's private quarters and steps inside. Alicent turns to face her, stating plainly that if Rhaenyra were in her position, she would have taken the exact same actions. Rhaenyra expresses bitter disappointment, reminding Alicent that she showed her mercy, even in front of advisors who viewed her leniency as a sign of dangerous weakness. She asks how Alicent could repay her kindness with betrayal. Alicent defends herself, revealing that Queen Helaena is carrying a child. She explains that Helaena fled purely to protect the unborn baby and her own life, claiming Rhaenyra is misunderstanding her motives. Alicent continues, asking Rhaenyra to be honest with herself. She asks whether Rhaenyra would allow a male heir to live, pointing out that she would be forced to execute or imprison the child to eliminate potential challenges to her throne and force Aemond or Ormond out of hiding. Rhaenyra stands firm, stating that her soldiers searched the city for Helaena and that she cannot simply overlook the escape attempt. Alicent takes full responsibility, insisting that Helaena only acted on her direct instructions. She begs Rhaenyra to punish her instead and spare her daughter. Rhaenyra delivers her ruling, announcing that from this moment on, Alicent will be kept under strict guard. She doubles the guard detail outside the chamber and revokes Alicent's privileges to visit the Godswood. Alicent quietly accepts the punishment, noting that her consent makes little difference. Rhaenyra notes that Helaena is fragile by nature and was never built to endure life as a prisoner. Alicent agrees, but stresses that because Helaena is carrying Aegon's heir, public knowledge of the pregnancy would force Rhaenyra to act ruthlessly. She pleads with Rhaenyra to send both of them far away from the war. Rhaenyra refuses, reminding Alicent that Prince Aemond is a fugitive, Ser Gawain and the Hightowers are tearing the realm apart, and local rebels are committing murders inside her own capital. She reminds Alicent that to the court, the Hightowers are the enemy, warning her never to test her patience again. Rhaenyra turns and walks out of the room. As Rhaenyra walks down the stone corridor alongside Mysaria, the Master of Whispers inquires about the interaction. Rhaenyra quietly reveals that Helaena is pregnant. Mysaria asks if anyone else in the castle knows the news. Rhaenyra confirms that no one else seems to be aware of it. Mysaria then asks if Rhaenyra ever suspected Helaena of plotting against her. Rhaenyra responds with total certainty, stating she never suspected her for a second. Across the city, Prince Daemon gathers the remaining officers of the City Watch in an armory to address the growing rebellion. Daemon rallies the men, swearing that they will have their revenge against the Hightower factions, no matter how many years it takes to root them out. One of the senior guards steps forward, challenging Daemon directly. The guard asks if retreat and endless waiting is truly his answer. He explains that while the men wanted to remain loyal, his children have been reduced to beggars, and he refuses to let them become orphans. He points out that Hightower agents wander the streets openly because they can smell Daemon's weakness, declaring that his first duty is to feed his own family. Daemon flares with rage, warning the man that if they abandon their posts, enemy forces will break into their homes, steal their food and abuse their families. He steps into the center of the room, shouting at the entire unit. He asks if they have forgotten what King's Landing was like before he forged the City Watch into an army, reminding them that he pulled them out of poverty and gave them respect. He expresses absolute disgust at their hesitation. Undeterred by the speech, the senior guard steps forward, unbuckles his sword belt, and lays his weapons down on the table in front of Daemon. One by one, the other gold-cloaked guards step forward and drop their weapons onto the pile. Daemon stands frozen in silent fury, watching his former army abandon him. In a secluded clearing outside the capital, King Aegon II, Lord Larys Strong, and Ser Tyland Lannister work in secret to dispose of a corpse, the man Aegon previously killed. Tyland is covered in sweat, leaning on a shovel after digging a shallow pit. He stops digging and declares that the hole is deep enough. Larys looks down into the pit, warning that wild dogs will easily dig up the body if it is not buried deeper. Tyland dismisses the concern, stating that by the time anyone finds the body, they will already be far away. Larys updates the group on their escape plan, explaining that a merchant from Maidenpool has agreed to smuggle them out of the region. He instructs them to stay completely out of sight for the next few days, noting that if everything goes according to plan, they will depart before the full moon. Tyland voices his hesitation, asking Aegon to forgive his bluntness. He argues that fleeing west to Casterly Rock would be a far better strategy, as they could establish a proper court and summon loyal bannermen to their cause. Aegon looks at Tyland and quietly asks if his advisor views him as a terrible man. Tyland chooses his words carefully, stating he would not use that word. He admits he has not agreed with every action Aegon has taken, but notes that every man carries both worthy and condemnable qualities within himself. After a silence, Aegon makes his final decision, declaring that they will bypass Westeros entirely and head for Essos. Deep within the ruined walls of Harrenhal, Prince Aemon Targaryen continues to recover from his severe injuries. Alice Rivers enters his private chamber carrying medicinal herbs to treat the deep wounds on his face. She applies the poultice to his skin, explaining that the mixture is for his facial injuries. Aemon looks at her, admitting it has been a long time since anyone took action to protect him. He offers her his sincere thanks. Alice responds softly, noting that she owed him a debt, but now that their obligations are settled, he is free to leave. Aemon asks where she expects him to go in his condition. He insists he must find his dragon, Vhagar, explaining that the beast cannot remain away from him for long. He admits that without Vhagar he has no power left. Alice offers a solemn piece of advice, comparing his situation to frogs that sleep beneath the ice during the winter months. She advises him to lie still, heal his wounds, gather his strength, and allow the realm to believe he is dead until the season changes. Aemon refuses to sit idle, stating he must secure a horse immediately. Alice asks where he intends to ride. Aemon explains that he will ride into the deepest regions of the Seven Kingdoms, trusting that Vhagar will track him down. He admits the dragon likely despises the miserable atmosphere of Harrenhal, adding that if she does not return he will journey toward King's Landing, where Vhagar roamed the hills decades before his birth. Alice warns him of the extreme danger, revealing that a massive bounty has been placed on his head. She cautions that assassins and common folk alike are searching the forests, desperate to claim the prize. She emphasizes that there is no place left in the realm where anyone can sleep in peace. Aemon counters that he is unsafe remaining at Harrenhal, adding that Alice is also putting herself in danger by continuing to shelter him. Alice proposes a different perspective, asking if it is possible Vhagar left his side deliberately to keep him safe. She points out that without his dragon present, he can stay hidden, whereas Queen Rhaenyra knows that tracking Vhagar will instantly reveal his location. Aemon grows cold, firmly stating that Rhaenyra is not his queen. Alice pushes him further, asking what he expects to achieve even if he finds his dragon. She reminds him that Rhaenyra commands 3 dragons while he possesses only 1, warning him that flying into battle alone will only result in his death. In the mountainous region of the Vale, Lady Jane Arryn stands inside her courtyard as guards drag Rhaena Targaryen before her. Without a word of warning, Lady Jane strikes Rhaena across the face. Lady Jane demands to know if Rhaena forgot the very first rule she was given. Rhaena holds her bruised cheek, explaining that she spotted Moondancer, her sister's dragon, flying toward Iron Oaks. She defends her actions, stating she only wished to see her sister's face one final time. Lady Jane berates her for leaving her designated hiding spot and breaking their strict agreement. She stresses that Rhaena wandered directly into a crowded town where thousands of people could have identified her. She asks what the locals would have thought had they recognized the Targaryen dragon rider. Rhaena quietly notes that her sister had already departed by the time she arrived. Lady Jane highlights the catastrophic risk, explaining that the queen currently believes the dragon rider is dead, which is the sole reason Rina remains alive. She asks what would happen if Rhaenyra discovered the truth, reminding Rina that a blade hangs over both of their heads because of her carelessness. Rina lowers her gaze, apologizing for her foolishness. She admits that while she spent her entire life longing for a dragon, gaining one has cost her everything else she loved. Lady Jane responds coldly, stating that the loss was the direct result of Rina's own choices. After a brief pause, Lady Jane orders her to leave her sight, issuing a final warning that if she ever disobeys orders again, there will be no forgiveness. At the military encampment of the Green Army, Lord Ormond Hightower sits inside his command tent with Prince Daeron Targaryen and Ser Gawain Hightower, who has recently returned after abandoning Criston Cole's vanguard. Lord Ormond looks directly at Prince Daeron, asking if the young prince considers him a fool. Daeron remains silent, refusing to take the bait. Gawain steps in to break the tension, pointing out that Ormond wanted them to continue marching into an obvious death trap. He explains that an enemy dragon was roosting in the nearby mountains, with 5 additional dragons positioned only hours away. Ormond dismisses the fear, claiming that Rhaenyra lacks the resolve to burn her own subjects because she is a weak woman. He argues that if her dragons leave the safety of the capital walls, total devastation will follow. He points out that Daemon has fled, Rhaenyra has imprisoned Alicent, and the enemy army advances daily, asking what other choice they have but to stand their ground. Ormond continues his speech, claiming that a single Hightower sword is worth more than 3 common soldiers. He lays out his strategy. When Rhaenyra's host arrives, they will fight on familiar terrain where they hold the tactical advantage. In the meantime, they will continue sowing seeds of poison and dissent against her inside King's Landing, proving to the great houses that she is unfit to wear the crown. Ormond turns to his guards, asking if any new diplomatic arrivals have reached the camp, noting that patience is the defining mark of a true hunter. Gawain cuts through the posturing, stating that his journey back was filled with constant battle and death, noting he watched many of his comrades die along the road. Ormond offers a hollow response, acknowledging Gawain's hardship and suggesting he find comfort among his men. Gawain requests permission to retire to his quarters, admitting he is exhausted and has not slept in a proper bed for weeks. Ormond grants the request, ordering his men to prepare a warm bath for Gawain while warning him that danger lurks everywhere. Gawain bows and exits the tent, leaving Daeron seated in silence. A short time later, Prince Daeron and Ser Gawain walk together through the camp paths. Daeron breaks his silence, expressing his overwhelming frustration with their situation. Gawain questions Daeron's submissive attitude, asking if he intends to spend his time flattering Ormond. He reminds Daeron that while Ormond elevated him to a prince, he left Gawain to suffer in the field. Daeron insists he is doing everything in his power to survive, claiming there was no alternative. Gawain asks if Daeron truly feels no regret about remaining in the camp. Daeron admits that standing beside Ormond is unbearable, describing how he feels like a pawn and a puppet being manipulated by older men. He points out that Ormond only seeks to place him on the throne because he cannot wear the crown himself, warning that Ormond will hollow him out until nothing remains inside. Gawain suggests a simple solution, telling Daeron to inform Ormond that he refuses the crown. Daeron scoffs at the idea, asking who would protect him if he stepped down, asking if Gawain would raise an army against Ormond. Gawain points out that if Daeron were crowned king, he would possess the legal authority to execute or remove Ormond entirely. Daeron quietly replies that they both know he will never actually sit on the Iron Throne. After a silence, Gawain mentions that he needs to rest. Daeron reads his tone, asking if Gawain plans to abandon the camp. Gawain confirms his intention to return to Old Town, stating he refuses to stay and watch House Hightower destroy itself from within. He admits he shares the blame and must return home to fix the mess. Daeron speaks in a hushed, vulnerable tone, begging Gawain not to leave him behind again. Gawain attempts to reassure him, stating that as Ormond's prized asset, no harm will be allowed to come to him. As they reach the quarters, Daeron asks a final question, inquiring if Gawain saw his mother, Alicent, during his time in King's Landing. Back at the perimeter of Harrenhal, Prince Aemon stands alone near a stable horse, preparing to ride out into the Riverlands. A young camp boy wanders by and stops in his tracks, staring at Aemon. The moment the boy spots Aemon's iconic missing eye, his face fills with shock as he recognizes the prince. Before the boy can scream or run, Alice Rivers silently steps up behind him and slits his throat, letting the body drop quietly to the grass. Aemon turns to Alice, noting that he kept her secret and would have continued to do so. He points out that she could have easily killed him as well and claimed the massive bounty on his head. Alice steps over the body, stating there are many things she could have done to him. Aemon asks what true objective she is pursuing. Alice tells him he must figure that out for himself, remarking that where there is a will, a path always reveals itself. She walks over to a wooden chest resting near the stone wall, opens the lid and reveals 5 unhatched dragon eggs resting inside. Alice reminds him of his family's history, explaining that his ancestor, Rhaena Targaryen, came to Harrenhal after the tragic death of her daughter. She describes how Rhaena wept in these very halls, noting that before Rhaena died, her dragon laid these exact eggs, which have remained abandoned and cold in the castle for nearly a century. She adds that while she knows little about dragons, she always knew the Targaryens would eventually return to claim the ancient seat. Aemond looks down at the eggs, stating he is cursed due to his past sins, admitting that everything he touches eventually breaks apart. Alice steps directly into his personal space, asking if he truly believes he is the only person who understands what it means to carry a curse. She admits she is tired of her deep loneliness, adding that she knows Aemond has spent his entire life feeling equally isolated. She places her hand on his chest, urging him to imagine what could happen if they altered the future together. She speaks of an ancient power residing within Harrenhal, claiming that even if the gods have abandoned them, they hold the power to shape their own destiny. Alice declares her vision: she will become the Queen of the God's Eye, while Aemond will rule as a true dragon lord beside her, ensuring his future children are born as Targaryen princes and princesses. Aemond looks at her, yielding to her influence. The two lean in and kiss, sealing their new alliance. In the crowded, dark alleyways of King's Landing, Prince Daemon hunts through the lower city to locate the rebel leader responsible for the recent assassinations of his guards. As he stalks through a narrow corridor, he notices a suspicious man moving quickly through the shadows with a drawn blade. Daemon lunges from the dark, knocking the man to the cobblestones and pinning him down at knife point. Daemon presses the steel against the man's throat, demanding to know how many more insurgents are hiding in the city. The operative laughs in his face, stating that their numbers are endless and that they are spread across every corner of the capital. He mocks Daemon, asking what Ormond Hightower promised him in exchange for his loyalty. He warns that their true king is waiting on the other side of the city wall, swearing that until Prince Daeron sits on the Iron Throne, the killings will never stop. Daemon threatens him, warning that people like him will burn in Dragonfire or be crushed under the boots of his army. The man stares back with absolute defiance, asking if Queen Rhaenyra is truly willing to burn her own city and slaughter her own civilians. He boasts that Daemon will never root them out because the common people wear no banners or marks, adding that for every rebel killed, 2 more will stand up to take his place. He delivers his final message, stating that Daemon is fighting common people who never wronged him, declaring that while the crown can burn and kill them, it will never force them to bend the knee. Enraged by the truth of the man's words, Daemon plunges his dagger deep into the insurgent's neck, ending his life on the pavement. Inside the main command tent of the Green Camp, Lord Ormond Hightower, Prince Daeron, and Ser Gawain are sitting down to a meal when a group of armed men enter the tent. The men claim to be envoys from House Baratheon who have arrived to offer their formal surrender to Prince Daeron. As the men step forward toward the table, Gawain notices their tense posture and concealed weapons. Sensing an immediate threat, Gawain draws his blade and attacks the lead man before the group can draw their weapons. A violent fight breaks out inside the tight tent. A loyal Hightower guard jumps into the fray alongside Gawain, cutting down the incoming attackers with swift strikes. Gawain fights off the assassins, killing the final intruder just inches from Prince Daeron. During the frantic chaos, Lord Ormond panics, knocking his entire meal and goblets off the table onto the floor as he scrambles backward in terror. Back inside the Red Keep, Dowager Queen Alicent enters Queen Rhaenyra's private chambers once again. Rhaenyra looks up from her desk, asking coldly what Alicent wants from her now. Alicent begs for Helena's freedom, arguing that her daughter cannot endure solitary confinement due to her fragile mental state and pregnancy. Rhaenyra asks if Alicent brought anything of actual tactical value to offer in exchange for her request. Alicent reveals her leverage, stating she knows the exact location of Prince Aemond. Rhaenyra pauses, asking if Alicent knew his location all along. Alicent clarifies that she only recently learned the truth, reiterating her demand that both she and Helena be granted safe passage to leave the capital forever once the information is delivered. Rhaenyra reminds her that as a prisoner, she is in no position to negotiate terms. Alicent presses her point, explaining that once Aemond is removed, whether he surrenders or dies, neither she nor Helena will pose any threat to Rhaenyra's reign, promising they will disappear entirely. Rhaenyra demands to know where he is hiding. Alicent reveals that Aemond is at Harrenhal, stating her scouts spotted Vhagar flying near the fortress multiple times. Rhaenyra asks how she can be certain of the reports. Alicent admits that Helena experiences vivid dragon dreams and prophetic visions, explaining that while it sounds like madness, her visions consistently come true. Rhaenyra processes the information, realizing that if Aemond is separated from his dragon inside the ruined castle, he is merely a vulnerable man who can be hunted. Alicent issues a stern warning, advising Rhaenyra that sending a full army will only cause Aemond to spot the force and flee. She urges Rhaenyra to send only a single quiet operative to execute him. As Alicent turns to leave the room under guard, she begs Rhaenyra not to separate her from Helena. Rhaenyra agrees to oversee Helena's care personally until Alicent's task is complete. Alicent hesitates near the doorway, Rhaenyra delivers a final warning, reminding Alicent that she previously warned her she would go to any length necessary to protect her reign. Alicent turns and walks out into the corridor under guard escort. Late at night, deep within the dark forest routes of the Riverlands, Lord Corlys Velaryon rides through the trees accompanied by a small escort of loyal soldiers. Out of nowhere, two armed men step out from the dense foliage, blocking the narrow trail. The lead bandit points his weapon at Corlys, demanding to know his identity. Before Corlys can answer, a larger force of armed men surges out from the surrounding darkness, launching a violent surprise attack. The attackers overwhelm the front guard, seizing Lord Corlys off his mount while additional soldiers ambush his rear guard from behind. As the torchlight illuminates the attacker's armor, it is revealed that the men executing the trap are soldiers belonging to Lord Ormond Hightower.